evening, everyone. I would like to call the August 24th, 2023 regular meeting of the Moraine City Council to order at 6 o'clock. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Allen?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Doherty?
Here.
Ms. Marcus?
Here.
Mr. Burchett?
Here.
Mrs. Witt?
Here.
Mayor Murphy?
Here. Now, if everyone would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council has copies of the August 10th, 2023 regular council meeting. Does anyone have any changes or corrections? Hearing none, they are approved as submitted. Now we will go into reports. Finance Committee, anything to report?
No report, thank you.
Finance Director, anything to report?
You have my July monthly report in your packets, and I have nothing else to add unless there's any questions.
Committee of the Whole, anything to report?
No report.
City Manager, anything to report?
I have nothing beyond the written report unless there are questions. Thank you.
Law Director, anything to report?
Thank you, Mayor. I have 3 items. The first is to request that ordinance 2147-23, approving current replacement pages to the Moraine codified ordinances and declaring an emergency, be added to the agenda for a vote this evening. And the reason for the emergency is so that the ordinance can become effective as soon as possible, so that the updates can be effective as soon as possible.
I'll make a motion that we add that to the agenda tonight, as outlined by the law director.
Call, please.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Thank you. The second request is to add Resolution 7969-23 to the agenda. That is a resolution repealing prior resolution number 7950-23, which was adopted on June 8th of 2023. That's with respect to Change Healthcare and the EMS billing services.
I make a motion that be added to the agenda as outlined by the law director.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Thank you. The last request is to add Resolution 7970-23 to the agenda. That's a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a memorandum of understanding regarding the TCSU and federal equalization with the sharing. It's basically a sharing agreement.
It's a sharing agreement. Somebody, one of the communities has to be assigned as the fiduciary, and the city managers within GovTech decided that the city of Kettering would be the best community to be able to handle that process. So, and since we supported TCSU initially by legislation.
Via
RTO.
resolutions.
Yeah, you felt it was best to go ahead and do this as well.
Exactly, via resolution. So that's the federal, I just found the terminology, the federal equitable sharing is what the MOU covers. And the reason that we're requesting it be added to the agenda this evening is because it has an effective date of September 1st, and council's next meeting is until after that date.
I'll make a motion that we add 7970-23 to the agenda tonight.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Clerk of Council, anything to report?
I included a report in your packet. I have nothing beyond that unless you all have any questions. Thank you.
And I have my court monthly report. Mayor's Court for the month of July 2023, the gross revenues for Mayor's Court was $18,258. After various expenses and disbursements, a total of $14,209 was deposited into the general fund. And that's all I have the report, and now we will go into business.
Ordinance 2145-23, an ordinance certifying unpaid charges for grass mowing and weed cutting to the Montgomery County Auditor for collections with real estate taxes in the amount of $1,194.57.
This ordinance certifies unpaid charges for grass mowing and weed cutting on certain properties and forwards them to the Montgomery County Auditor to allow for collections with the real estate taxes. Motion to approve.
You've heard the motion. Are there any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ordinance 2146-23, an ordinance approving an amendment to the table of organization and 2% increase in pay rates for employees of the city of Moraine and declaring an emergency.
This ordinance amends the city's table of organization to allow for a 2% increase in pay rates for city employees to be effective August 27, 2023. This is for an emergency, and I move to suspend the rules to allow the second reading and final adoption at this meeting. Motion to approve.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ordinance 2146-23, an ordinance approving an amendment to the table of organization and 2% increase in pay rates for employees of the city of Moraine and declaring an emergency.
Motion to approve.
You've heard the motion. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ordinance 2147-23, an ordinance approving current replacement pages to the Moraine Codified Ordinances and declaring an emergency.
This ordinance allows for replacement pages to be added to the city's codified ordinance in order to conform with current state laws. This is on for an emergency, so I move to suspend the rules to allow for the second reading and final adoption at this meeting.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ordinance 2147-23, an ordinance approving current replacement pages to the Moraine Codified Ordinances and declaring an emergency.
Motion to approve.
You've heard the motion. Are there any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Excuse me, Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Ms. Marcus? Resolution authorizing the city of Moraine to enter into a sixth addendum to the facility rental agreement with the Miami Valley Child Development Centers, MVCDC Incorporated, for operation of a Head Start program at the Gerhardt Civic Center.
This resolution authorizes a sixth addendum between the city and Miami Valley Child Development Centers for the operation of the Head Start program at a monthly rental rate of $1,000. Motion to approve.
You've heard the motion. Are there any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Resolution 7968-23, a resolution declaring the items listed on the attached 2023 list to be surplus and no longer needed for municipal purposes and authorizing the city manager to dispose of such items through GovDeals auction or donation to a nonprofit organization or through a trade-in program.
This resolution stated that these items are no longer usable or needed by the city and will be disposed of. I'll make the motion to approve.
You've heard the motion. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Resolution 7969-23, a resolution repealing resolution number 7950-23, adopted on June 8th, 2023.
This resolution repeals Resolution 7950-23 regarding the approval of a bid for EMS billing services and will also allow the reissue of a request for bids for EMS billing services. Motion to approve.
You've heard the motion. Are there any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Resolution 7970-23, a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a memorandum of understanding regarding the Tactical Crime Suppression Unit with the Miami Valley Communications Council in cities of Centerville, Germantown, Kettering, Miamisburg, Oakwood, Springboro, and West Carrollton.
This resolution allows for a memorandum of understanding for a tactical crime suppression unit in order to form a task force of law enforcement agencies to coordinate police activities and exchange information. Motion to approve.
You've heard the motion. Is there any questions or comments?
I would also like to add that this is in regards to forfeitures that occur from crime activities that TCSU addresses, and any of those funds will be specifically held by the city of Kettering and used for TCSU only. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Marcus?
yes,
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes. We have no persons appearing before council, so we will go into other business. Fire Department, anything to report?
No report, thank you, ma'am.
Police Department, anything to report?
No report, thank you.
Building and Maintenance Department, anything to report?
No report, ma'am, thank you.
Parks and Recreation Director, anything to report?
Yeah, tomorrow night is our movie night in the park. We are showing Super Mario Brothers, the new one. Also, registration is open for many of our programs going on this fall. So if anybody's watching, get on there and register. And then, I don't know if anybody watched Living Dayton today, but Chandler was on there promoting the National Family Health and Fitness Day on September 30th. So we're excited about that. And I think Aaron might have posted it to our Facebook page. So if you're on there, check it out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Community Development Director, anything to report?
Nothing to report tonight, thank you.
City Manager, anything further to report?
I have nothing further. Thank you, Mayor.
Law Director, anything further to report?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Finance Director, anything further to report?
No report, thank you.
Clerk of Council, anything further to report?
I have nothing. Thank you, Mayor.
Miss Allen, anything to report?
Yes, I attended the opening day for the West Carrollton schools, which was very informative. I enjoyed that very much.
Miss Marcus, anything to report?
nothing. No.
Miss Witt, anything to report?
Yes, I, along with Councilwoman Miss Allen and City Manager Mike Davis, attended the open house at West Carrollton. And I try to make that every year because you get to meet the teachers, some of the teachers, and get to be there and see the buzz for the excitement of the first day, so, or the beginning. So that's all I have.
Mr. Miller, anything to report?
Just an update on the 1913 Wright seaplane replica model that's going to be installed over here on Main Street. We originally projected the dedication to be on Saturday, September the 9th, and now it's going to be changed to the 23rd of September at 10 a.m. And thank you to Rocky and the Street Division who has installed the pole and the base, which is dry now, and we're shooting for the 23rd.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Doherty, anything to report?
No report, thanks.
Mr. Burchett, anything to report?
I have no report, thank you.
I also have nothing to report tonight, so I would like to thank the Miami Valley Communications Council for broadcasting this meeting live as well as any future rebroadcasts. This meeting is adjourned at 6:14.